All right, hey everybody, how's it going tonight? I hope you all had a really great day. Just wanted to reach out and talk live about some of the stuff that's been going on with everything, which is pretty great. I don't know if you've been feeling it lately. I hope that you are feeling it, but there is a huge shift in lightness that's happening right now. Today, oh man, today there's a lot of you that I'm friends with that aren't necessarily getting the info about what's really going on. What's up, Steve? Thanks for checking in. That's getting info about what's really going on behind the scenes, and it's cool. It's all right, you know. People still get tied into their echo chambers and they want to believe them, but you know, I'm here to talk to you for real, like as friends, what's going on. And today is a huge day in attacking a lot of really negative stuff. Yeah, what's up?
Do you want this? I don't want to waste it.
Girl, I'll have it later.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have it later. Sorry, that was my girlfriend, my little sweet friend here in Tennessee. But anyway, so what happened today? What happened today? Let's talk about it. The U.S. military tweeted they were taking down. I posted it earlier on one of my posts that they were going after Djibouti. Now, I'm sure a lot of us have never heard of this country called Djibouti, and apparently Djibouti has been under a watch list for trafficking. They're going down. They're going down. It's a pretty amazing day. So let's talk about how that is translated into regular MSM. Let's go back to what was going on about a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, there was this whole push for the refugee movement. And everyone who had really kind hearts, and they were listening to certain leaders to tell them that, hey, these are people that are in crisis. These are people that need help. And we need to open up our doors and open up our borders for them. And we need to care for what they're doing, what they've been going through. Those were the same people that are now being indicted for human trafficking. This is what's been going on. Not to mention the fact that why is there money involved with every single person that comes in? Somebody's making money off of them. And then they're told they don't even have to be legal. They can just come and be illegal. And we should be okay with that. That's all right. There's a reason, there's an underlying reason, there's a connection. If we take the time to figure that out, what that really means. The same leaders now are being indicted for mass human trafficking, atrocities for sex trafficking, atrocities for creating the war in the first place that displaced these people out of their own homes, that create constant divide and destruction in their own countries where they were. It caused pain. It caused death. It caused chaos. Why? It's a moneymaker. It's a moneymaker. And finally, this is the good news. Finally, this is getting eradicated. And however you want to feel about certain leaders that are being attacked in the media on a very strong level. How can I put this? Whenever CNN is telling you there's a certain enemy, you gotta think opposite. Whenever there are leaders that try to pretend that they're progressive and they are the outsiders when they've literally been the establishment for so long, maybe we should think the opposite of what they're saying. Whenever we're hearing people telling us who have systematically made so much money off of doing nothing but creating policy that creates pain, maybe we should be thinking the opposite when they talk. Because right now, first of all, Turkey just got shut down like hardcore. Turkey was a huge epicenter for trafficking of people. They call it refugees so that it's palatable for the masses. You have to understand, everything is based on marketing. No one, we're all trying to fight the bad in the world, right? We all, the everyday person, we have a heart for people. But this is what's weird. This is what's weird that happens. We'll go online and we'll listen to a story from somebody like out in the middle of nowhere, however they want to reframe it, and we'll want to fight for that. And yet, when we're right in our own neighborhoods, we throw each other under the bus all the time. Out of envy, competition, want, greed, poverty sense, a poverty mentality. Why do we do that? We'll sit there and gossip all day long about our neighbor. Even if the neighbor's trying to do something really good, they're a good person, we'll throw them under the frickin' bus. But then we'll read some kind of story that CNN told us, and then all of a sudden our virtue signaling goes up and our self-righteousness goes up on a very clean level that says, I'm a better person if I go along with this story. But they don't follow through in the whole game. Okay? And this is what systematically has destroyed so much of the world. You go back to you can go way back. I mean, this applies to everything. This applies to every single war that we have gone into. It applies to every single mass charity that's a total scam that feeds into the exact opposite of what they're saying they're about. Okay? And yet when we walk down the street and we see someone in pain in our immediate environment, we have no time for them. We gave it the office. Okay? So, let's recognize that. I am not about shaming anybody. We've all been bamboozled. Everyone's been bamboozled in lots of different places. But the fact of the matter is there are so many people that are waking up to this. And something happened to me personally when I was in Pittsburgh. about a year and a half ago, I was trying to navigate this whole situation. And in trying, I mean, I knew what I knew. I knew what I knew, but I was also confronted with so many people that were thinking on so many different levels that were on the opposite side, but they're good people, but they didn't understand what was really going on. And if I said too much, I'd be the enemy. And it got down to the fact that right before the election, I actually had this project in Pittsburgh called the Pittsburgh Stair Project. And when fit hit the shan, and in my world I realized I had to make a decision on whether I was going to shut up about what I really knew and the people that I knew that were fighting the good fight on what was really going on, or I just wanted to be a people pleaser and make this one specific project happen. Well, those of you that know me, you know what I'm going to choose. And I had to back off from that project because I knew that what I was about to get into and what I was going to talk about was going to be extremely controversial, and it was going to, unfortunately, make an enemy of me for a lot of people that are good people that don't understand what's really going on. And I knew that I wouldn't be funded. I wouldn't be funded for that project if I tried to go forward in that project and also speak the truth about what was going on a bigger level to try to help everybody. And there was a lot of misunderstanding with that. I mean, some people thought I just gave up or I was just, you know, a bad person or whatever. But no. Since that decision, people like Melissa Honeybee Zachariah, and if you haven't heard of her name, I highly suggest that you check her out on YouTube and you check out her Twitter. She's called the Honeybee, and she's a friend of mine. I know her personally. And she's an amazing, amazing person that's put her butt on the line to expose so many things that are really going on, that are marketed in the mainstream as being refugees. They're not refugees. They're being human trafficked. They're going to be exploited. And then we're all going to be exploited. She talks about these things. Liz Crokin, another one. I've been posting things since 2013 here and there. Yeah, sure, I'm an artist. Ultimately, I love to paint. Ultimately, I would love to just paint and create really happy spaces for everybody and bring everyone together. But you know what I was noticing 2 years ago was that everyone was trying to find a way to not be friends with each other, to not connect. If you didn't think exactly like them, and then who was telling you to think this way in the first place? The dividers, you see? Then you couldn't really connect with the people in your own community. And with what I was trying to do at 634 was all about community, was all about bringing people together. But I had a slightly different conversation from what a lot of folks in Pittsburgh were talking about. That made it difficult. So what do? You get real. You get real, and you just really decide what's the most important thing? And for me, although ultimately I would love to just focus on creating art and creating beauty and creating environments that bring musicians that I really respect, and artists and filmmakers and all people together to talk, ultimately you have to have a really tough conversation because there's a bigger thing going on. So let's talk about ways of seeing, because it all goes back to John Berger. I'm going to show you this book. Can you see this book? Ways of Seeing. It's all about perception. When I was in my freshman year of college, we had to study John Berger because he was talking about ways of seeing with art. And his whole purpose of his book was, is it more important of what the viewer thinks the painting means? Or is it more important what the artist originally intended it to be? And so the entire semester we argued about this. I'm going to get to a point, I promise you. My personal thing was, I think what the artist is trying to say is the most important thing. Not what people's limited perceptions could be, because they don't fully understand what they're diving into. If we allowed ourselves to fully understand what someone is telling us, what they're really trying to get across, then we could make a very logical decision, a very rational decision of what we want to be involved in and what we don't want to be involved in. But if we don't know the full extent of what the originator meant, what their intent was, what their real game is, then what are we really aligning ourselves with? You see? That goes into politics, that goes into business, that goes into schooling, that goes into education, that can be applied to everything. Unfortunately, since the 1950s, the concept of us thinking that we dive into something based on what we think it means, not what the originator and who the real person on the top truly means for it to be. That's where we get bamboozled. So let's go into the art world. Okay? Let's talk about Basquiat, because I noticed that a lot of people coming up, a lot of young people, and I myself when I was a kid, I loved Basquiat. But when I really dove in to the symbology and I found out about his family, I found out about what was really going on, I realized, crap, he was used up. I'm going to tell you how this happened, because it all ties into Pizzagate, it all ties into Pedogate, it ties into all these things that are coming up right now, okay? In the 1970s, and unfortunately even earlier than that, there were people that learned power from ritual. Not ritual in a Christian sense, because even ultimately in a Christian sense there is no such thing as ritual. You just have your own personal relationship with God. There's no ritual. But unfortunately, in the 1970s, there were people that were pushing this idea of ritual and wanting to understand all these different religions to give them power. And it dealt with Santeria, it dealt with voodoo, a lot of Haitian stuff was going on there, and that's where the Afro centricity was really being funded by the Clintons, unfortunately, not for the benefit of the African community, but for the exploitation of it. Okay. It's not to free them. It's to use them as vessels to gain more power through these unfortunately accepted ancient African tribalistic rituals that deal with some really dark stuff. Basquiat's mother was involved with that. That's why Basquiat, unfortunately, he was a brilliant person and he was extremely talented, and he was conflicted, and he dealt with a lot of metaphorical and realistic demons in his life. And it's unfortunate that there weren't more people around him that really cared about him, that would keep him safe. They exploited him and that's why his mother went into the insane asylum, because his mother was part of that. And Basquiat was raised up by these exploitive people in the art world by raising up Haitian Santeria and voodoo via art, via symbolism. And that's why now his work is so valuable to the people that are doing so many terrible things in the world, but marketing it as though they're doing good in the world. Because they actually think, you have to understand that there are people in this world that do really horrendous things that actually think it's really good. It's not. If the art world was so healthy, if the art world right now was so healthy, why do you have 1 out of 3 artists committing suicide, cutting themselves, doing unbelievable self-destructive things to themselves, creating really self-destructive art, and they're lifted up for it? Why? I've talked to people behind closed doors about the concept of the CIA being behind the art world in the 20th century from the first place in order to create pop culture. A lot of people didn't believe me. Well, I'm going to show you something. This is a book that is from my family. 1986. I'm going to switch this around. I want to show you something. Okay. So I've had this book in the family. Don't ask me why, because you wouldn't even believe me if I told you. All right, so here we go. This is the history of the CIA. All right, this is a book that's been in the family for a while now. And I want to show you the connection very quickly. Oh, there's Wild Bill Donovan. If you haven't heard about this dude, that's an interesting person. And then they jump to Vatican. Let's see, where do they jump to Vatican? And they talk a lot about Donovan. They talk about the OSS. That was the predecessor to the CIA. Okay, if you haven't heard about that. It's Nazi. It's Nazi. Then they talk about, I'm going to get to this page. I probably should have just marked these things, but I didn't because I'm just flying off the cuff here. I was reading all this stuff earlier. establishing the CIA. Fantastic. Awesome. The OSS established the CIA. All right. Just forgive me for a minute. I'm going to flip to what page was talking about. There was a French artist very early on. I'm going way too far. I know it's not this far. It's actually really early on. I should have marked this. There was a French artist in the 40s that helped solidify. Oh, look at that. Isn't that interesting? There's the papacy within 20, there's page 28. Page 28, they're talking about the papacy and how since early times, can you read that? Get a really nice view on that. Just read that. Okay. So, you know, the papacy has their own thing going on, which is lovely. So great. They talked about Matahari. All right, I'm not even going to waste your time. I'll find this in a minute. In this book, I'll find it in a minute, when they talked about this certain artist. They've used art for propaganda for a long time. There's a reason why Shepard Fairey is so popular by pushing obey. It seems kind of funny and haha and like tongue-in-cheek, but on a subconscious level, it actually makes us think, obey. Obey what? Obey popular culture. Because he is popular culture, right? With Basquiat, with Warhol, with all of them, if you really listen to what they're saying and who was really funding them, coming up to right now with Ai Weiwei, with Damien Hirst, and even unfortunately Cicely Brown, which really makes me sad because I actually really dug her for a while. But I realized, man, she's screwed. Like she's actually exposing some really gnarly people through her artwork. There's a woman, what's her name? Kim something, Kim Johnson. She's a multiple personality artist. And she deals with like what she's expressing through her art is the actual abuse of what the other side and all this human trafficking and this satanic ritual abuse and all these things, whether you want to believe that happens or not, it's very real. They promote her in her end game, but they didn't prevent the problem. And you see a lot of that in Hollywood, in the arts, in music. A lot of kids that have been pushed up to the top, who have been really, truly systematically abused. And they're put into very public positions to inspire a lot of other young people. Not to necessarily free them, but to embrace the abuse or the result, to embrace the result of the abuse of what they experienced. Okay. And that's a psyop right there. So why can't we change it? We can, absolutely. I'm walking around today, and I was seeing so many beautiful things, with nature, with all kinds of things, and wouldn't that be lovely if we started encouraging in art instead of lifting up the victimhood of the results of pain, that we started believing in holding on to what is really good and embracing that. I'm really proud of Kanye. I'm going to go there. I'm so going to go there right now. I think Kanye needs to diss Kim Kardashian and get with Candace. I'm just going to say it because I don't even care. No one's even listening. No one's even listening. No one even cares. But for all of you that keep listening to this bullshit that comes out of Damon Young from Very Smart Brothers, I'm saying it right now. That shite that dude writes holds, okay, I'm going there. I'm finally going there because I've seen this dude where I used to work, and I can't even look at him. This dude pisses me off to no extent. You want to okay, here we go. Okay, let's start with Kanye. All right? Yeah. You need to get out of the idea of being a fucking victim. Everybody. I don't care what's going on. Damon Young, you go to Libya and let's talk about being a victim. Because who funds your company? Who funds your voice? Who gives you all that money to be able to push the bullshit that you write that is insane? It causes so much distress, victimhood, paranoia, whatever. Who funds you? The same exact people that created Libya as it is today, right now. And I'm going to tell you a personal story about Damon Young. And it's why I cannot stand this person. It has nothing to do with anything other than what comes from his heart and out. It is disgusting. It is vile. It is poison. Everything he writes is literally poison. He got his first fame from writing about Wendy from the TV station. There was a shooting that happened in Wilkinsburg, okay, probably like 2 or 3 years ago. And these kids shot each other up. Bad. It was awful. Come to find out, there was a black girl that wanted to have a really great cookout. She invited her friends on Facebook. Apparently, her brother had done some stuff that they didn't like. And these other people decided to shoot them up. And it was like a massacre. It was bad. Well, there was a newscaster, local newscaster in Pittsburgh that talked about it a little bit and said, yeah, it's really sad that it's probably going to be some other black kids that did this. Everyone freaked out. Everyone in Pittsburgh freaked out. It went nationwide. Wendy lost her job. It was terrible. And Damon Young dug his heels in to this story. And he single-handedly destroyed this woman's career. Destroyed it. I've blocked Damon Young on my Facebook. I can't even handle this dude. But for those of you that are friends of him, and I know there's a few of you, let me tell you the real story behind all that, about it being a white-black thing, and thinking that everyone who's white is a terrible person. Damon Young, did you find out who that girl was living with? Did you take the time to find out the real backstory of the whole thing? No, you didn't. You know why? Because if you did, you wouldn't have written what you did. That black girl who was living in that house, who was killed, was being housed by a white family that cared about her, that was trying to give her a safe place, because her own family was not giving her a safe place. Do you know why I know that? Because that girl who owned the house was someone I've known since I was 5 years old. That was one of my mom's good friends growing up, that they volunteered and they worked at a church together in Wilkinsburg for years. And I grew up with Julie Knapp. If Damon Young doesn't know who Julie Knapp is, it's a damn sad, sorry story. And I know he doesn't, because he didn't want to go that far. So let's talk about it, Damon Young. The race card. Julie Knapp and her family have lived in Wilkinsburg since at least 1985. And they've been integral in that place in trying to help all kinds of people and just be there. When we talk about who really hurt who, whose family was really there for them. Because the girl and all that other stuff that was going on, they weren't helping each other, they were hurting each other. Julie opened up her home to that girl to help her from all the chaos that was going on with the rest of her family. And look what happened. And then you want to sit there and write what you write and say what you say? I ain't got no time for you. It's disgusting. Shame on you. This world is not about color, it's about character. And Kanye West, what he just said, finally, which I wasn't even down with him. I thought he was a sellout. I mean, like, you're going to go with some jagoff like Kim Kardashian? You got to be a sellout. But when he finally recognized and went, wait a second, we need to be victors, not victims. You can walk around your entire life thinking that people are going to hate you. But you have to wonder if there's this deep-seated thing that you hate other people. Because you're thinking that they're somehow inherently better than you. That's crazy. And then there are the folks that feed off of that and they promote that. Because they want everyone to think that they're less than. And then they give people that are totally down with writing about that kind of stuff tons of money, tons of props, tons of whatever. And you got your Nike shoes? Sold out. Sold out. And you're going to have every other young person. Let me tell you something. No child thinks that they're less than until someone else tells them that they are. Whether it's somebody that says it on one way or the other way. And if I was a young kid that actually read Very Smart Brothers, which you aren't a very smart brother at all, I'm embarrassed for you. I'm embarrassed. It's pathetic. If I was a young person reading that and thinking that that was the truth, then I would have to accept that as a belief system. So you're actually shooting yourself in the frickin' foot. And if you think that you're freeing anybody by saying that and putting that out there and framing everything in your own life, which you aren't, go be a victim in Libya. Then we can talk. Because you get to go to Ace Hotel all the time. You get to enjoy all kinds of nice food. Everyone loves you. You have no problems. You have no problems. Go to Africa. Go to Libya. Go to Saudi Arabia. Go to Turkey. Go to places where people are seriously being exploited, and then we can talk. Or you know what? Go to Homewood. And you're going to seriously tell me that you're going to tell a 4-year-old little girl that that's her reality? You've already nailed her mentality in a coffin. I'm going to tell you the difference. I'm going to tell you the difference of this. I'm sorry. Tonight, I have been back and forth about talking about this with this dude for a while. It really, really irks me. Because, when I was a kid growing up in the Pittsburgh public school system, we had everyone from every background. And we all found a way to be friends. We all found a way to connect. And I actually really appreciated that. And I thought, we are the change. Like, we actually can be the change. And then some BS happened after I graduated high school. And I don't know what happened. But all of a sudden, there's a bigger problem now than there was when there actually was a problem. And we figured it out as kids, just being friends with each other. And then you read crap like what CMU and all these very smart brothers, that just drives me crazy. It's such an oxymoron. Let me tell you about being a very smart brother. You don't start a conversation talking about you're being a victim. Because you're not. Everybody has everything in their own mind to be able to be anything they want to be in the world. And there are going to be people that don't like you, no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter what your stance is. It doesn't matter. But you can be an asshole about it, and you can go out and try to force everyone to like you by being manipulative, controlling, shaming them, guilting them. But it doesn't allow you to be humble enough to realize maybe there's things I need to work on in my own life to be a better person, to be kinder, to be more accepting. And yeah, people are going to say stupid stuff all the time. All the time. Are you going to take it and run with it and be like, everyone has to be this terrible person and I'm so great? Because you know what? I read your stuff. It's pretty awful. It's pretty mean. It's pretty nasty. And it's not connecting anyone to any bigger truth that empowers them into who they could truly be in this world. But you make money off of it from who? Who are your funders? I know who your funders are. The same people that live and feed off of creating the exact same victim mentality that you say you are fighting against. It's bullshit. So you know what? Walk out into the world. Be who you are. Just be who you are. It's unreal. It's unreal how everything's turned upside down. Everything's turned upside down. I'll finish with this story, as maybe this will make sense. Because you know what? I bet you some people are going to be like, oh, Kim, you should be talking about this. You're white. I can say anything because I'm a human being and I care. And I've seen a lot. And I've also seen how these people manipulate. I've seen how they manipulate. Okay. There was this 4-year-old little black girl that came into my backyard with the neighbor. She was full of fear. 100% full of fear. I've seen this so many times. One thing that really gets me is that people that feel that they're pushed down, they create so much fear in their own kids, but they don't want to take responsibility for that. So this little girl was terrified of the water. And I didn't really want to deal with it at the time. I was like, man, I just want to, like, I'm working on this art thing, whatever, and okay, I guess I just gotta deal with this. So I go downstairs, and I'm like, you want to learn how to swim? And she said, yeah. I said, you sure? She says, yeah, I do. I want to learn how to swim. But she didn't understand trust. Her mom was a big druggie, and her mom was always with a whole bunch of different men, and quite frankly, I could tell that after the fact that this girl had, and she was only 4, that there was definitely some kind of molestation that was going on. And that sucks. It sucks. It sucks. Why do you think I'm so passionate about talking about these bigger truths than this other lower? Damon Young, you want to talk about human trafficking? When you start writing articles about human trafficking, no matter the color, including your color, that's when I'll start taking you seriously. That's when I'll start listening. Because this other bullshit you talk about is bullshit. It's bullshit. And this little girl had been through it. And she couldn't even trust her own instincts. She couldn't trust her family. I mean, her mom was getting high somewhere, God knows where. And she apparently was applying for a bunch of jobs, and she was like using multiple IDs. This was going on in East Liberty, you know? But I'm there, and I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to teach you how to swim. It's going to be good. And I picked her up, and I held her standing in the water, and she started screaming in my ear, like screaming. So scared, just screaming in my ear. And I said, you're in control. You can tell me how low or how high you want to go in the water. You're in control. And we're going to do this. But you're in control. And as soon as I said that, she calmed down. And she started trusting me, little by little. We got into the water, and within a half an hour, she started swimming. I mean, obviously not like, you know, Olympic swimming, but she was allowing herself to float. She allowed me to show her how to float. There was trust. She learned that there was no fear. And once she learned there was no fear in what she was learning how to do, and she was enjoying it and feeling so proud of what she was learning, who was around her? It was me, a neighbor, and my mom. Her mom was nowhere. Her mom was getting high down the street. And all she wanted was her mom to see her. That's what she kept saying. Like, I'm so happy. Can my mom please come and see me? Now, we as adults understood what was really going on. And we said, your mom's going to be so proud of you, even though we know her mom probably is not, because she's jacked up. But we were there. And we, for a moment, encouraged someone in their life. How much projection happens? Because I'm really tired of certain communities constantly pushing fear on their own children, on their own friends, on their community, and then saying the other person is the problem. Who maybe they're another color, maybe they're another philosophy, maybe they're another political side or whatever. If you are creating fear, if your words are creating paranoia, creating hate, creating destruction, you're the problem. I'm over it. Create connection. Talk about real stuff. Talk about what's really going on. But you won't do it because I bet you if you start doing that, the people that fund you will pull the plug. Am I right, very smart brothers? Because I know I'm right for that specific situation. And it disgusts me. It makes me really sick. It makes me very sad. Because you know what? 20 years ago, the Pittsburgh kids growing up, we all knew each other from all kinds of backgrounds in the city schools. And we were trying to be friends with each other. We were trying to figure it out. But all this crap that's been going on the last 10 years has destroyed everything. Maybe even the last 15 years has destroyed everything. For anyone to actually really connect and really actually be there. Because everyone's looking at this paranoia that you feed. It's disgusting. But it's all going to go down, and your funding's going to be lost. It's going to be lost because the funding's based on a whole bunch of... The irony, this is why I'm fired up tonight, because I found out personally the irony, the funding of this kind of conversation, of race baiting, is funded by the exact same people that are doing global human trafficking. So you wrap your head around that one. What people will do for $1. What people will do for $1. But it's all getting lifted up. It's all getting lifted up, and it's a beautiful thing. People go, why do I care so much? You know, I mean, it doesn't help me doing this kind of stuff. I'm sick of losing. I'm sick of watching people walk their entire lives in pain based on lies. And it's that simple. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what background you come from. Dignity. Dignity. If you can't speak dignity to a person and you want to speak victimhood into them, you're done. You're done. Breathe life into people. Tell them what they possibly can be. Don't tell them what they're... Don't give them limitations based on bull. Give them possibilities. Don't let them think about that other stuff. Let them think about who they are in their own entity. And lift them up in any single way that you can. Why do you think that the hip-hop industry got so big? In the 90s, they were pushing Public Enemy and Eazy-E. They weren't pushing the Sugar Hill Gang. And there were so many more intellectual hip-hop artists that were talking about real things that were going on in the world that really lifted up people and was really great. But they didn't fund those folks. They funded the people that brought everyone down, because it fed drugs, sex, and alcohol in those communities. Again, what are the 5 biggest industries going on in the world right now that are finally getting taken down? The war machine, and they want civil war. They want people fighting all the time. The war machine, human trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, child trafficking, prostitution, all those things. What do you think is constantly being baited in these communities? What do you think is the result when someone feels that they're worthless and the only thing that they've got is their body? Pimps and hoes. I'm nothing. That's what gets fed. When someone's told that they're nobody and that no matter what they do to become an amazing human being, that they're still always going to be judged on their color or these lies that are being told, they go to drugs. Of course they're going to go to drugs because they're sad and they have to escape. Stop funding, stop being pawns of this shit. Stop being pawns. Wake up to it and know that they don't, nobody is defining you but you. And those that make money off of media platforms to create race baiting or thinking that they're creating a victim privilege bullshit platform because they're funded by the exact same people that create these horrible industries in the first place that only create destruction, please stop. That'd be really great. And then, guess what? That little 4-year-old girl that I met, no matter what horrible things her personal family put her through, she doesn't have to read on a bigger level that everyone's against her. Okay, I'm not against her. Damon Young, I wasn't against her. I was trying to help her. Her family's fucked up. Okay? Her family is creating a really gnarly situation for her. I'm not the problem. And if this little girl in a few years reads your articles, she's going to think the whole world is against her. Is that true? Is that what you want to focus on? Is that how you're making your money? Would you stop everything that you're doing in writing your stuff at Ace Hotel every single night? And would you actually be in a pool with her trying to teach her how to fucking swim? Would you stop for one night out of your busy day and teach this little girl how to swim in your backyard? That's all I gotta say about that. Wake up. Kanye is right. You're either a victor or you're a victim. And you make a whole bunch of money right now, which is soon going to change. And selling this whole thing. You guys will figure it out. You guys will figure it out. Anyway. All right, I'm out.